Thank you. Okay, fire evacuation announcement. You can go out the back door, get as far away from the building as possible, or you can go out the door to my left and then take the left down the stairs and out and get as far away, again, from the building as possible. Okay, Mr. Secretary, can we have roll call, please?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Ken Helinski.
Here.
Christy Antonio.
Here.
Linda DeGray.
Here.
John Petronella is here. Terrence Lynch.
Here.
Frank Alimo, absent. Joseph Muley.
Here.
Walter Cruzell.
Here.
Rob Anderson.
Here.
And Laura Anderson is absent.
Okay, approval of the minutes for April 23rd, 2026. I will participate because I watched the video, so I'm up to speed on it.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Mr. Chair, I'll be abstaining.
Oh. Chris is abstaining.
All right, so does Chris?
Yeah, everybody else is.
And Terrence?
Everybody else is.
Yep,
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
you too, Terrence? Okay, all right, great.
Right, CD and Terrence.
Okay, approval of minutes for the April 28th special training meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Any corrections or revisions? Any abstentions?
One.
Okay, Terrence. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's done. Town attorney report. I don't think we have too much on that tonight, do we?
No, it wasn't. We did have one,
You
but
had
it
one
was
last time.
in, it's in the packet, on the
Okay.
computer,
Oh, okay.
so.
Was it Terrence? Terrence and Chris. Recuse themselves.
Okay,
a
yeah, we
second,
have the
right?
town attorney report
Both
here.
of them.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anybody have any questions or comments about the town attorney report? Yeah. Lori, did you have any comments on it?
Nope.
Town attorney? Okay, I guess we're all set there then. Okay, zoning enforcement officers report?
None.
None?
I'll try to get him to have one soon, at least before the August break.
Okay,
How's that?
yeah, that'd be good, sure. Okay, public participation. At this time, I would ask anybody in the public who would like to come forward and speak to the commission about anything that is not on tonight's agenda. Would anyone like to come forward?
They're all for the applicants.
Would anyone like to come forward? Okay. All right. Bond releases. Okay, we have a bond release request, PH 3057 and PH 3104, 98 Elm Street.
So this is essentially for Zen Leaf. And the site is complete and under control. There's no erosion issues, and the landscaping is good. So this is actually for the performance bond for $200,000.
Okay,
This comes from recommendation from Rick Rochelle, the zoning officer.
yeah. Okay. Anybody have any questions? Yeah, Linda?
Just a quick one. Was the sign painted on the east side of the building? That was supposed to be
They
painted?
removed the lettering.
Okay, that was.
Yep.
That was the
Okay.
issue, yeah.
That was the only thing. Thank
Yep.
you.
Yeah, go ahead, Terrence.
On the fourth paragraph down on the front page of that, we've got he requested the bond release on 2025, should be 2026, I would think.
Okay.
Just a typo, to make the record true.
Oh, good catch.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? No? Okay, Mr. Secretary, could you
Yes.
do the motion, please?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion, or the following motion. The Enfield Planning and Zoning Commission hereby approves the release of the performance bond in the amount of $200,000 for 98 Elm Street, map 43, lot 27, submitted by Willowbrook Enfield LLC, Zen Leaf LLC, Chris Photopoulos applicant.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I'm going to, I forgot to do this. I'm going to appoint Rob Anderson as the substitute
Thank you.
for Frank Alamo tonight as a permanent member.
Duly noted.
You talked about it, you just didn't actually.
What's
Yeah.
that?
You talked about it.
Yeah, I guess I did.
Oh, yes, it was before the meeting, wasn't it?
It was before the meeting. Okay. Okay, continue public hearings.
No,
Oh, we
Now we need
Oh, sorry.
to vote, please.
Oh, I'm sorry.
it's okay.
We're all going all over the place.
We have a second.
We have the second, okay. Can we have a roll call on, please?
Yes, Ken Helinski,
4.
Christy Antonio.
4.
Linda DeGray,
Or,
Joseph Muley,
4.
Terrence Lynch,
Or
Rob Anderson,
4.
and John Petronella is 4. Passes 7-0.
Okay. Now we can go on to the continued public hearings. We have PH 3146 5 Harris Street. Can I have a motion to take it off the table?
so moved.
Okay,
second.
all in favor? Okay. Terrence. Okay, Mr. Cabrera. Yeah, you can sit right there, and could you please give...
Should I sit as well?
Yes, you should sit as well.
You can sit right there.
You did ask for a consecutive interpretation format, correct? Yes.
Pardon?
You did request consecutive interpretation format, correct? One person speaks, I interpret, then the other person speaks, I interpret.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. So this-
Okay.
He's the one that called you, not us.
A usted me llamó. Usted me llamó, sí. Entonces, sí, tendrá que firmar esto, sí.
Okay.
Si usted solicitó interpretación
Ok.
consecutiva, ¿correcto?
Yeah.
Sí. Ya, bien. Okay.
Make sure that the red light is on and you speak into here
Okay.
for the microphones.
Okay, could you please each give your name and address, please?
Porque los dos podrían proveer su nombre y su dirección, por favor. Eso es la luz roja está prendida para poder interpretar.
Mi nombre es José F. Cabrera.
My name is Jose F. Cabrera.
Your address?
Su dirección.
Vivo en el 22 de la Forest Street en Providence, Rhode Island.
I live on the 22 on Forest Street in Providence, Rhode Island.
Okay,
Sir, can you use the microphone? Thank
yeah.
thank you,
If you just turn it on, it should be fine.
Should I restate what he said?
Okay, yep.
thank you.
Okay, and can you introduce yourself as well?
I am Alejandro Basauri, 830 Long Hill Road, Middletown.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I saw you've made some changes based on our recommendations from last time. Would you like to explain what you've done?
Muy bien, observé que usted ha llevado a cabo unos cambios basados en nuestras recomendaciones de la última vez. ¿Nos podría explicar qué ha llevado a cabo?
So, lo que se pudo elaborar fue lo de la habitación en el segundo piso
Okay, what was done was regarding the room on the second floor
y lo de la escalera para el basement, el sótano,
and the stairs to the basement,
y lo del parqueo.
and with the thing regarding the parking lot.
Se cogieron la medida exacta para que cupieran 4 vehículos.
Yeah, we obtained an exact measurement to fit
4
to
vehículos.
fit 4 vehicles.
Okay, we have that diagram.
Sí, tenemos
Here.
muy bien, tenemos ese diagrama aquí. Yeah.
We also have the diagram of the layout of the rooms and the stairway.
Tenemos también,
Could you explain a little bit about the stairway and how would the second floor people get down to the basement using the stairway and so on?
tenemos también los planes de cómo se van a colocar los cuartos y las escaleras. ¿Nos puede explicar un poco más de cómo las personas van from the second floor, correct? De las personas cómo se utilizarían las escaleras desde el segundo, llegarían las personas del segundo piso hasta el sótano?
So, lo del segundo piso van a tener acceso por la parte de afuera al sótano.
Okay, so the people from the second floor are going to have access from the exterior area to the basement.
Okay, all right. And does anyone have any questions for
¿Alguna pregunta para
Mr. Cabrera?
el señor Cabrera?
Just a clarification on the parking spot in front.
Solo para una clarificación
I
para el
can't
parking
read
del
the
frente.
distance because of all the hash marks. Is that 18 and a half feet?
No puedo leer la distancia debido a todos los símbolos de asteriscos, no asterisco, no, los pounds, los asteriscos, esos 18 pies y medio.
El driveway.
The driveway.
Yes, the driveway here.
Sí, aquí.
Yes.
Sí.
Okay. It is 18 and a half.
Sí.
Oh, okay, thank you. I just couldn't read it.
Sí, el
Yeah.
driveway
Rob,
acá,
yeah.
18.5, correcto. Sí.
I was under the understanding that you couldn't have a parking spot in front of the house.
De mi entender era que no se podía tener un lugar de estacionamiento enfrente del hogar.
Lori, would you like to talk about that, please?
You may, excuse me, you may have a parking space in front, but it has to be gravel or paved. It can't be lawn.
Ok, puede tener un sitio de estacionamiento en el frente, pero tiene que ser de grava o pavimentada. No puede ser de pasto.
No, pavimentado.
And are there size requirements?
¿Hay requerimientos de tamaño?
It's typically 9 by 18 or 10 by 20. 9 by 18 is a compact. There's really no requirement to do one or the other.
Típicamente es de 9 por 18, 10 por 20. 9 por 18 es el compacto. No hay requerimiento en sí en que se haga uno sobre otro.
Okay.
Okay. Lori, would you like to give a summary?
Bien, Lori, ¿desea dar un resumen?
Yes, so the survey shows that they could have 4 cars. If they are small, they could certainly bypass each other if they're parked properly. One is in the garage, and that is not unusual to have like a townhouse or whatever, a house, having 1-car garage and then a car parked in front of it, so that's 2 spaces. We did show some paving.
Wait, are you asking a question?
No, he's interpreting.
I am
Oh,
interpreting for him.
I'm sorry, okay, sorry.
You don't need to put it in the mic.
But he can understand.
Yeah, sure, that's fine, that's fine.
Of course, yeah.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
So the pavement is shown to go to the property line, but it actually can go a little bit into the street, going to the existing access. So that would make it even easier for a car to get in or out. But when the surveyor just showed it up to the property line. But it can connect to the actual entrance.
Oh, okay.
So, and then you also received the survey, or the, where is it? The architecturals that show the bedroom to be a utility room on the 2nd floor. And it shows that the stairs are kind of over each other to get down to the basement. And you already had an explanation as to access. So as far as staff is concerned, we are satisfied with this application. However, today, staff received a letter from Mr. Izara. I know I'm not saying that right. And he had some concerns about the survey, and we sent that to the surveyor, and we have a response from the surveyor. From staff's point of view, this is an A2 survey. I used to be a surveyor, and the process that they went through is pretty much what I always learned it to be. So the gentleman is here, the neighbor is here, and we have the letters from both. I don't know if you want me to read them in, or they were on the dais this evening, so,
I think it might be a good idea to do that.
okay. Let me find them. Do you want me to read both? Or does somebody else want to read them? I mean, I don't care. It's up to you.
I only see,
So there's one.
These two.
There's one
Okay, yeah,
from
okay.
A. Irizarry, and then there's one from Deno Land Survey.
okay, yeah, so the one's an email and one's an
Right.
actual letter, yeah. Okay, got it.
Do you want me to read them?
Yeah,
Okay. All right, this is from A. Irizarry, dated today at 11/21, May 14th. regarding Unit 5 Harris Street construction. Dear Mr. Ken Helinski and committee members, after reviewing the possible impacts that the proposed Number 5 Harris construction project might have on my property, I would respectfully request that the committee give serious consideration to the following. While speaking directly to the surveyor team from Deno assigned to the most recent plot plan validation certification, it was clear that they did not plan on using accurate electronic equipment to determine the markers to be used as reference for the property line's boundaries. In contrast, they planned to use a metal detector to locate the existing markers and treat them as valid. I have repeatedly stated that the existing markers could have been tampered with or moved over the past decades. If, in fact, the surveyor company decided to use the appropriate equipment to establish a Level 2 plot plan certification, it would be greatly appreciated if they could share the methodology and equipment used to achieve this. I would also like to request any previous original subdivision plot plans in the records archives at the Enfield Zoning Department. Is the proposed construction impacting the current fence location or not? If yes, the owner of Number 7 Harris requests a reasonable period of time to identify an independent surveyor to validate the boundary lines in the presented plot plan. In the presented plot plan, there are significant differences from the current position for all perimeter fences. In addition, in the presented plot plan, we couldn't find at least one primary marking point in some sections of the property lot. It is important to note for the record that Mr. Cabrera of Number 5 Harris explicitly indicated during the last hearing that he didn't know what the basis of his neighbor's Number 7 Harris opposition was, as the fence between our properties was not going to be affected. Please confirm receipt of this message and make sure all members of the committee reviewing this project receive a copy before the next public hearing. Thank you very much for your attention. Respectfully, Mr. Sigfredo Irizarry, 7 Harris Street. So, having seen that, I thought I should let the surveyor know.
Sure.
And he did respond today, and everybody should have gotten a copy of this as well. Dated May 14th, 2026, Plan and Zoning Commission, Town of Enfield, 820 Enfield Street, Enfield, Connecticut, 06082, regarding 5 Harris Street proposed addition and improvements. Dear Commissioners, a letter concerning our survey and survey methods to prepare a new A2 survey of the reference property has been brought to our attention. To prepare the A2 survey of the reference property is as follows. We researched the town clerk's land records and engineering department, files for maps, deed, descriptions, and other data describing the parcel, adjacent properties, and the right-of-way lines of the adjacent street. We walked the boundary to recover existing property corners using a metal locator, set up and ran a controlled traverse along the boundary to locate the existing property corners and the existing improvements, calculated and balanced the traverse and rotated all the data onto the appropriate bearing system, coordinated existing deeds, calculated the parcel boundaries, and prepared the new Class A2 plan to show all survey data and proposed improvements per the most recent standards and suggested methods from CALS, C-A-L-S, dated August 29th, 2019. To perform the fieldwork, we utilized the state-of-art Carlson Robotic Total Station, which was last cleaned and calibrated in January of 2026. I've been in the surveying field for over 41 years, and all but one employee has been with Deno Land Surveying since 2008. Sincerely, Brian Deno, LS.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any questions for our, Linda, go ahead.
Not about the letters. Just a question about landscaping or some kind of stop for that car that's going to be parked in front of this building. You never know. I mean, the people that are living there now may be very careful drivers, but the people after them may not be, or get sick and go plowing into this building. And so I'm just wondering if we should make some kind of, I'm asking you, Laurie, if
Can
we
I
should
ask
make
you a question?
Sure.
Would you require that in front of a garage?
But You don't live in a garage.
No, I know, it's still
People are
structure.
living in this building. They could be watching television. I mean,
could-
there was a car that just went through through a house in another town. And
It's a good
it was
point.
a medical
It's a good point.
issue. So I have that one concern. How do you stop having that happen? So you can't, but we have to protect these people. So that's
May I-
just, sure.
Can I talk with the applicant about that? Alejandro?
Yes.
Would Jose be willing to put some sort of a barrier between the front parking space and the house?
¿Usted estaría dispuesto a poner una barrera entre el lugar de estacionamiento del frente y el hogar?
Correcto.
Correct.
Sí,
Un pequeño muro de contención le pongo,
Yeah, I could put in a
todo el borde,
yeah, I put in a
antes de llegar a la propiedad.
put in a small containment wall around the whole boundary before arrival at the property.
Thank you.
bien, gracias.
Okay, and we could make that I'm sorry, go ahead.
Just on what she was talking about, if he puts anything in front of the parking spot, that's going to take away from the area of the parking spot, and the area of the parking spot is also already fairly limited.
Lori, are there any size limitations that we have to worry about by putting a barrier up?
Limitación de tamaño que tenemos que preocuparnos.
She
I
said
think that
18 feet.
the-
18 feet
I
was kind of the minimum.
Yeah, I understand.
So it's at 18 and a half feet right there. If you're going to be putting any kind of thing in there, it's going to be at least a foot.
Porque es 18 pies y medio. Si pones a poner algo ahí, vas a ver al menos un pie de más.
It's, I guess you guys need to discuss whether you would like to require it or not.
Creo que usted tendrá que discutir.
I guess I have a question with respect to that, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead, sure.
Can they park within the right-of-way? Meaning if that parking stall was deeper and protruded into the right-of-way, is that allowed?
I think the official answer to that is no, but it's done all the time.
Okay, yeah, okay, thank you.
Si el,
Are there sidewalks there?
se sale más o se inserta más en la zona de derecho al paso, ¿eso se permite? Yo creo que la respuesta oficial es no, pero siempre se
Okay,
hace.
any more questions for Mr. Cabrera?
I think I have a question
Go ahead.
with respect to, I mean, it probably goes to the engineer who is not here. Your engineer is not here.
¿Su ingeniero no está aquí presente?
No.
No.
Looking at the parking layout, first of all, based upon the scale, it looks like these cars are about the smallest cars that you can buy for the scale, how they're shown to fit. Now,
Pardon me, I do. Pardon me, I
you're
do have-
creating a drive aisle to get the front car out and/or the car from the driveway out. And this drive aisle is 7 foot 6 inches wide, maybe. A drive aisle typically should be about 12 feet wide. That's what a typical parking lot layout is, 12 feet, each direction is 24 feet total. I just don't see how this works, especially if there's mid to full-size cars. It's very tight. I took a drive-by there as well and took a look at it and how the garage is configured and so forth and where it is. It just looks like it doesn't work. I mean, you could draw it on paper and it looks fine, but in reality, how does it work? How does the traffic flow? How do you turn that first car that's in towards the garage up against the drive? How do you get him out and turn and go through that narrow drive aisle and then get him in and out of there? It's just very difficult. I just don't see traffic flow. I just can't see that. Thank you.
Mi pregunta es que yo, con respecto a la escala del pase que para ir al estacionamiento, me parece, de lo que yo veo, parece que está a escala para autos muy pequeños. Por ejemplo, el pase para el manejo es de 7.6 pulgadas de 7.6 pulgadas de ancho, ¿correcto? Pero para mí aquí dice que el típico es de 12 pies de ancho. Yo no veo cómo esa configuración va a funcionar especialmente con autos de tamaño mediano o grande. De lo que yo, especialmente cómo se configura el garaje. Me parece que va a haber toda una complicación de cómo se va a ingresar el primer auto, cómo se va a girar el auto para sacar ese primer auto y de ahí en adelante. Es que yo no veo cómo va a funcionar eso. Ya.
El parqueo en sí se va a agrandar un poco más en lo que es la parte del centro.
The parking itself is going to be enlarged a bit more in regards to the center area.
So, en la parte delantera se va a agrandar un poco más, la cual fue el sorveo que marcó y se pueden parquear bien los carros.
So the front space is going to be enlarged a bit more, which is what the survey was was part of the survey covered.
En la reunión anterior, yo le estaba explicando a la comitiva que se va a agrandar un poco más porque voy a poner un muro de contención ahí pequeño
In the
en la
last
parte izquierda de la propiedad.
in the last meeting, I explained to the committee that I was going to enlarge that part because I was going to place a containment wall in the left side of the property,
La cual el parqueo amplía un poco más, ¿me entiende?
which would amplify the parking a bit more. You understand?
Por lo general, un vehículo son 6 pies que tiene, 6 pies y medio, 7, ¿me entiende?
In general, a car's like 6 feet, like 6 feet or a
sea,
half, 7. You understand?
Eso se tendría que tomar en consideración con las personas que viven en el segundo piso,
You would have
de que no es un truck que va a parquear, sino un carro normal, regular, con un size estándar.
You have to take into account that with the person on the second floor that you're not going to park a truck there, but like a car, a standard size car.
So, yo entiendo de mi punto de vista. Yo entiendo el punto de vista de ellos, que ellos dicen que no va a caber el parqueo, el vehículo, 4 vehículos paralelos, ¿me entiendes?
I understand your point of view that you're not going to fit, that parking lot's not going to fit like 4 parallel cars. You
Pero
understand?
sacando una conclusión y una comparación
But drawing a conclusion or a comparison
con las otras propiedades que hay,
with the other properties in the present,
ninguna tienen parqueo.
none of them have a parking lot.
Los tienen pequeños, son parqueo compartido, todas.
It's very small. It's shared parking
So, ese es
for
el punto
everyone.
mío.
That is my point of view.
No entiendo por
Okay, I think the question was, from what I heard, is how difficult is it going to be to get the car out of the garage if the other 2 cars are parked there? It's very narrow.
Si mi pregunta es,
And if you are expanding that, how are you expanding that?
mi pregunta es, de mi punto de vista, ¿cómo vas a sacar un auto si hay 2 autos más estacionados ahí? Es muy escaso, muy apretado, mejor dicho. Y si usted lo va a expandir, ¿cómo se va a llevar a cabo la expansión?
Bueno, la expansión se va a llevar hacia la otra propiedad porque hay como 2 pies y medio, el parqueo va abriendo, ¿entiendes? En la parte trasera tiene 15 pies, pero ya al principio, al frente, tiene la medida correcta que ellos necesitan para parquear 2 vehículos, porque va abriendo el parqueo.
Hacia la otra propiedad.
Sí.
The expansion would be taking place towards the other property because there's like 2.5 feet around there. Like the back has like 15 feet, but the front has the appropriate feet. It's like the allotted footage. Perdón, la parte de enfrente tiene
15 pies tiene.
eso es
Esa es la parte trasera.
la parte de trasera. Sí.
La delantera ya tiene la medida exacta, 18 y algo que necesitan.
Yeah, but the back has 15 feet, but the front has 18 feet, the exact measurement you need.
According to the map that we have, there is only 15 and a half feet, not 18 and a half feet.
De acuerdo al mapa que tenemos, hay 15 pies y medio, no 18 pies y medio.
Al frente.
At the front?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
I have a question, maybe Lori can. So our regulation requires them to provide parking for 4 cars,
La regulación requiere
but
que
we
se
do
provea
not,
estacionamiento
there's
para
nothing in there regulating movement of those 4 cars.
No hay nada
That
que
is
regule
also
el movimiento
correct.
de los 4 vehículos.
I think we're being hung up on something we have no jurisdiction over.
Creo que nos estamos
Whether
colgando
it's a valid point, but it's not
Yeah.
our headache. It'd be the people who live there's headache.
Es buen punto, pero no es nuestro,
So I think
nuestro
we're
asunto.
arguing about something that's not relevant to our,
Estamos discutiendo sobre
decision.
algo que no es relevante
Well,
en nuestra
that's true,
decisión.
because I was going to mention that when I first looked at this, either the last meeting or the meeting before, I looked at the satellite picture of that street, and there were 3 cars in the driveway next door, all stacked up, one behind the other. So I said, well, what's the difference? You know? In fact, this is actually kind of an improvement.
De hecho, esto es más o menos una mejora. Sí.
And it's a one,
Well,
it's
that's
a
true.
one-family house.
That's
It's
true.
not a two-family house.
Eso es para
That's
casa,
true.
una familia.
That's
That's
true,
the
but there were
difference.
3 cars stacked up. I mean, I don't know who was living there, but,
Bueno, tres,
Yeah, when it may not be part of the regulation, but when we're talking about a 2-family house,
no sea regulación, pero si es una casa de dos
and
familias,
somebody has an emergency,
tiene emergencia,
and somebody in the other apartment is parked behind them and they can't get out,
y hay alguien del otro apartamento
now
que
that's a
está solo ahí,
problem.
no van a salir.
So I understand it may not be
Entiendo que
necessarily in the purview, but
no sea
if
parte
it
de
doesn't look like it's going to
opción.
work, I don't know why we should do it.
Si esto no funciona, no sé por qué se llevaría a cabo.
I have a question about, you said you were going to expand this layout?
Tengo una pregunta. Usted dijo que iba a expandir este plan.
Sí.
Yes.
Okay, so how are you going to expand it? There's a wall on the left-hand side, correct?
Bueno, ¿cómo va a llevar a cabo una expansión? Hay una pared en la mano izquierda.
No, no hay nada.
No, there's nothing.
No.
There's no wall,
No hay pared.
Solo grama. Hay grama.
okay.
Only gravel. There's gravel.
So then would you be encroaching upon the neighbor's property?
Entonces usted estaría como irrumpiendo o sobrepasándose a la propiedad del
No,
vecino.
jamás.
No, never.
Todo lo que se va a hacer basado en las líneas que hizo el surveyor. Por esa razón se hizo la medida, se cogieron las medidas del terreno.
No, everything is going to be undertaken with regards to the survey lines. That's why the survey was undertaken, the survey for the land.
Porque cuando puse el letrero que me dieron ellos, el sign,
Because when I put the sign you provided me, the
ese
sign,
neighbor vino aquí y se quejó también por el
the
terreno.
neighbor came over and also complained regarding the territory. Pregunta, ¿por ello se refiere al ayuntamiento o
No, el neighbor, el vecino del lado, vino aquí, presentó su queja
perdóneme.
de que le estaban obstruyendo
No me refiero, perdón, el cartel, ¿quién le provió el
cartel aquí, ellos saben cuál es.
el ayuntamiento?
Sí.
Sí. Yes, okay, I'm sorry. Just wanted to clarify whether the sign he was talking about was provided by the survey company or by the town hall. Yeah. Never mind. Proceed.
Okay, so are you saying that this diagram that we have here of the cars is not the final version?
Así que nos está diciendo que el diagrama que tenemos aquí con los autos no es la versión final.
No.
No.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Pregunta al respecto.
Go ahead.
I guess I'm confused. And Lori, maybe you can help me out. So I'm looking at this and the property line, and there's a distance between the house and the property line of 12 foot 3 inches, and that's in front of the garage. Then there's the property line between the house and the property line at the front says 15 and a half feet, plus there's another 8 feet for the additional parking place. So I guess I'm confused. If you could look at your bigger bigger picture than mine? Could
Are you
help me?
looking at the original survey?
I'm
just
looking
the
at,
A2, or are you looking at the parking plan?
I'm looking at the parking plan. So is the
Okay.
parking plan incorrect? Or
What did I do with it?
I'm just confused about this, that's all.
For some reason, I don't have the large-scale drawing of the new parking plan.
Yeah, it's very hard reading this
Yeah,
small.
but the original survey shows that there is between,
Tranquilo, no.
in front of the garage, which is 12.3 feet wide,
Right.
in front of that, there's 15.1 feet.
Okay, so there is additional space
And
there.
that's to the property line that's to the actual property line to the structure.
Okay.
proposed Structure.
All right, that's, that,
And then it widens out as it goes down.
okay,
So it starts at 15 and it widens out.
all right, thank you.
So it widens out as it progresses away from the garage? Is that what we're saying? And it ends up 15 feet where?
It's 15,
Before he started the
it's 15
extension.
here.
Okay,
Between the corner of the existing house.
Yep.
The
Yep.
back left corner,
yep,
I'm sorry. Between the back left corner of the existing house to the property line is 15.4 feet. And then it goes wider as it goes down, but there's no dimensions shown.
okay,
All right, thank you.
okay. Any other questions or comments? Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the concern being brought up about accessibility of the vehicles, but I am in agreement with Commissioner Muley that we do not require that every vehicle be immediately accessible in our parking requirements. It's just that they show sufficient parking. And as far as the concerns go, I mean, it does appear to me, considering it to be a duplex, 2 families, it does appear to me that they could have at least two vehicles pretty readily accessible without having to relocate the other vehicles, if there even were 4 vehicles. Yeah, and as far as vehicles being stacked, as we talked about, that's not an uncommon situation. It's an inconvenience. My parents do it. A lot of folks who have single car width driveways do it, and they back the car out of the driveway, put it on the street temporarily, and they relocate the other cars. It's it's a little dance. It's up to the tenant and the property owner to manage that. But as far as, they do appear to meet the parking requirements. And again, we don't require them to have a drive aisle in a driveway. So the driveway is for parking, and they have at least 2 vehicles that they can access. I don't see a major concern with this, short of, again, just an inconvenience perhaps for the tenants if they do have 4 vehicles.
May I make a comment?
Go ahead.
Just looking at the aerial photograph, and I'm looking at 5 Harris Street in particular, there's the garage and 2 cars parked in the driveway. So right now, there's the possibility of 3, and they're proposing 4 by having the driveway widened in the front. There is also on-street parking available. I see a lot of cars parked in the street.
Okay, well, this is a public hearing. Why don't we, at this time, I'd like to invite anyone from the public who would like to come up and speak for or against this application.
Yep.
Yes, sir? Yes, sir, come on up. Please state your name and address, please, for the record.
Sigfredo Irizarry, you can call me Freddy. I'm number 7 Harris resident.
Go ahead.
Okay. My prime concern when I addressed myself through an email to the distinguished panel was about defense. I just want to make sure and to be clear on the last meeting that we have here, Mr. Cabrera expressed here that he didn't intend to move the fence that divides us. I just want to be sure that that's going to be the case, or is this project or this construction at some point is going to require that he moves the fence, and if he does, I need to have some time to basically have my own surveyor take a look at the plot plans. The difference or the distance that we are talking about are quite significant. We're talking about at some points are 2 feet and some points are 4 feet that they're going to be moving the fence towards my side. That's going to be a big impact. So I just need to make sure that that fence is not going to be moved. If it is going to be moved, I need some time to get a surveyor and do a check on the plot plans. The other thing that I just heard right now here is that it is allowed to have cars parked in the street in case I didn't need to. Mm-hmm. If there's for example, if there's the garbage trucks or the plowing machines, is that going to be an issue, or is that I never seen that? Everyone has his driveway, everyone parks his car. The streets are basically most of the time empty, unless it's like you have some kind of visits, and in a temporary fashion, people park, visitors park in front of the street. But there's like 80%, 70% of the time the street is empty. So I just want to make sure that this is not going to be an issue that's going to be like a permanent thing, that you're going to have cars parked in the street as normal.
Well, I think Gloria, she just mentioned it to say that there is on-street parking allowed on that street.
Okay.
Okay. So whether people are going to utilize it or not, we don't really know. I mean, what if somebody has a party? Do they have a lot of cars on the street? I don't know. If that's
or if someone has what?
Someone has a celebration at their house, they have a party.
That's a temporary thing.
Yeah,
that's a temporary thing.
There might be several cars on the street.
Mother's Day, we had an issue. We had a bunch of cars parked in the street.
Yeah.
But the next day in the morning, everything was
But the intent for this driveway, I believe, is to have the cars in the driveway.
Okay.
If there was an extra car, you could park on the street, I suppose. But
wow. Okay.
But I don't think the intent is to park cars on the street.
Whatever you guys decide.
I don't know. That's
okay,
just my
but
opinion.
in terms of the fence, I would like to have a definitive answer if that fence is going to be moved or not. If he plans to move it, I need some time to get a surveyor. It's not going to be something that's cheap, so I need some time to do that. I need to make sure that those measurements are accurate.
Okay, we'll ask Mr. Cabrera to provide that answer. Okay.
Thank you for the time.
Okay. Thank you. You can come back up. Okay, Mr. Cabrera, your neighbor is saying that if you are going to move the fence as part of your driveway project, that he would need some time, he would like some notice as to when you would move the fence so that he could prepare and do his thing for his property.
Bien, señor Cabrera, su vecino nos avisó, si usted planea mover el cerco, él quiere un aviso de antemano para que él pueda prepararse o para poder confirmar los límites de la propiedad. Sí.
Realmente ahora mismo yo no necesito moverlo, pero voy a tener que moverlo.
Right now, I don't need to move it, but I am going to have to move it.
Porque por esa razón fue que se hizo el survey.
Because for that reason, because that was the reason the survey was taken.
Para tener exactitud donde van las medidas, los 4 puntos de la propiedad.
To have an exact measure of where the 4 points of the property or the measurements of the 4 points of the property are.
So ahora mismo yo no lo voy a mover, pero yo le doy el tiempo a él. Si él quiere pagar un survey para que le mida también, pues un dinero que prácticamente lo vas a perder. Porque
Right. Well, right now I'm going to give time to him, but if he wants to pay for the survey, if he wants to pay money for a surveyor to survey the property, well, that's going to be money that he's practically going to waste.
Well, he has not requested that. The only thing he has requested is that he be notified when the fence is going to be moved.
Bueno, no está solicitando esto. Lo único que va solicitado
enough
es
time
es que le notifiquen
accommodate
cuándo
himself.
se va a retirar el cerco. Para que, o sea, con suficiente
Ok.
tiempo de antemano.
Si no, ok, yo no tengo ningún problema con notificarle a él porque yo mañana mismo la puedo cambiar la fensa.
Of
¿Me entiende?
course, I don't have any issues regarding that because I could notify him tomorrow. I could notify him tomorrow that I'm going to remove the fence.
Okay, Lori, go ahead.
Question, do you want to keep the fence or move it or remove it?
Perdone, pregunta. ¿Usted quiere conservar el cerco, mover el cerco o retirar el cerco?
No, el cerco ya está en mala condición. O sea, yo voy a restaurarlo, ponerlo nuevo en caso de que yo la mueva, ¿me entiendes?
No, the fence is already in poor condition. I'm going to restore it and make it as new in the event I have to move it. You understand?
No he querido tocarla ahora porque él puso unos letreros que uno no puede traspasar donde va la medida exacta, ¿me entiendes?
I don't want to move it right now because he put some no trespass signs on where the exact measurement is located. You understand?
I understand. Yeah, Joe, you had a
I
question.
guess the question I would have with the new survey, is that fence on your property or his property?
Mi pregunta es que con la nueva agrimensón, ¿el cerco estaría sobre la propiedad de usted o la propiedad de él?
La propiedad de él.
His property.
So the fence can stay where it is then. If it's on his property and it's his fence, there's no need to move it.
Así que
You can't move it,
el
really.
cerco
No,
podría
it's the other way around. The fence is on his
It's on
property.
your property?
Está
Yeah.
en la propiedad de
En
usted.
la,
okay.
en la propiedad mía está.
It's on my property.
Yo tengo que moverla 5 pies casi para la propiedad de él.
I have to move it almost 5 feet towards his property.
So,
Y eso es lo que lo está preocupando a él, que son 5
That's-
pies.
And that is what's worrying him, that it's 5 feet.
Sounds like the answer's been made. He's got to move his fence.
Eso suena la respuesta para mí. Se
It's
tiene que
on
mover
his property.
tiene que mover su
It's on-
cerco.
Whose fence is it?
Pero, ¿el cerco de quién es?
El cerco es de la propiedad mía.
The fence is of my property.
Steve,
Y
If I may, I think the ultimate question we're looking for here is, as a part of this project, as a part of doing the addition and doing the driveway, will you be moving the fence?
Mi pregunta, a fin de cuentas, es como parte de este proyecto y como parte de mejorar la vía para el auto, ¿usted va a mover el cerco?
prácticamente sí, tengo que moverlo porque no puedo, ya que hice este trabajo del survey, yo tengo que poner la fensa donde van para que en un futuro no haya inconveniente.
Pretty much, yes. Now that I've undertaken the survey, I have to move the fence so that there's no inconvenience in the future.
Lori?
I just want to say that this is really a civil issue. We don't really get involved with fences.
yeah.
If he wants to keep the fence where it is, he can. If he wants to move it to the property line, he can. That's not our decision. I'm sorry, it's not your decision.
No es decisión de ti, mejor dicho. Si quieres conservar el cerco ahí, lo puedes. Y si lo quieres
Okay.
llevar al límite, sí puedes.
So any more questions from the commission?
¿Alguna otra pregunta de la comisión?
Okay.
I make a motion to close public hearing.
Movimiento para
Second.
cerrar el
All in favor?
pública. ¿Todos a favor?
Okay. All right, can you go ahead and read the motion, Mr. Secretary?
El movimiento, señor secretario.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve public hearing number 31465 Harris Street, application for a special use permit to allow a duplex. Jose Cabrera, applicant, Maria G. Ramon Sebastian, owner, map 23, lot 14, R33 zone.
Second.
Okay, can we have roll call, please?
You gonna have any discussion?
Sorry?
We're going to discuss it?
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. You take
I'm
a
getting
week
ahead of,
off.
I'm getting ahead of myself.
Take a week off.
I'm getting
and
ahead of
you're-
myself.
You're ahead of
Okay.
yourself.
Any discussion on the motion?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I have a lot of concerns with the parking configuration, although some of the commissioners don't feel that we have to, that there is a parking requirement to meet. We have a parking regulation in our, and it states sizes, drive aisles, and so forth, and I think we have a responsibility to make sure that, that traffic, or that there is ample parking there. Otherwise, you're saying we can just draw 6 by 12 blocks and call them parking stalls and make it whatever we want. I totally disagree with that. An ample size of a standard parking stall is 9 by 20. You can downsize it 6 inches, maybe either way, but I just don't see how this works, and it's not even close, to be honest with you, and I just have a hard time supporting this for the parking requirements. I just don't feel that this configuration meets the parking requirements, so I certainly cannot support this. And I also feel that the applicant's responsible to provide off-street parking. You know, we've talked about, well, there's also on-street parking that they can park, but the applicant, I believe, has a responsibility to provide, to meet the parking requirement off-street on the property. So the fact that he's able, or anybody's able to park on street has nothing to do with it. It's got to be off-street parking that he's required to meet. So, you know, again, I just have a hard time supporting this based upon that. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Linda?
I am going to follow Commissioner Petronella's line of thought there, too. And every example that was given by any of the commissioners was, well, my parents have a single driveway, and the people next door, which is a single-family house, have 3 cars in their drive. This is a 2-family house. Currently, the people that live there may have small cars, but those people will move, and the next families that come may not have small cars. And you say, well, it's a little inconvenient. Well, if I go to work for midnight, it's going to be a real inconvenient when you have to be up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'm knocking on your door to say, can you move your car so I can get out? There's a parking issue here that really bothers me, and the fact that you're going to park a car right in front of a living area where people would be watching television or sleeping or whatever with no, and the applicant said, oh, well, I'll build a wall. That bothers me too, is you never know when an accident's going to happen. And I have a fear of that parking spot right within a foot of the building that it can plow through. It's one thing if it's an individual house and it's on your insurance. But as the owner of the house, any tenant drives through your living room, that's a whole different. And you knew that that was going to happen. There's some issues here that bother me. So I, again, will not be supporting of this. Thank you.
Anyone else? Chris?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, can I, Linda, if you don't mind, I ask, if I ask, so if a single-family home had a 1-car wide driveway, that would be okay, because then that 1 car could just back out.
I can grab the keys, my husband's keys, and back his car out and move my car. I can't knock on my neighbor's door and say, hey, give me your keys.
But they are showing that they could have immediate access to 2 vehicles.
But that may not be the same family.
Right, but that's.
The guy in the garage has to get out.
Yeah, but it's not our job to assign parking spaces on private on residential
I agree,
properties.
but they also should have access to come and go as they need to.
But they can.
How? It's only a 15-foot wide driveway.
With the 2 cars at the top of the driveway, one in front of the house and then one in the main driveway.
And the car in the
part.
garage, so how's he going to get by those cars,
They would
those
have
2
they
cars?
would have to move the cars. It's just like any house that has a car in the garage.
They're
that's
different
blocked.
families, different needs. You don't have control over them. What if I take off for 6 weeks? My husband and I take off for 6 weeks. Our cars are parked there. That guy in the garage can't get out.
I mean, that feels like a concern for the tenants and the landlord, frankly. I mean, that's my thought. I mean, our regulations.
I understand
Yeah, I
our
mean-
regulations, but I also have concerns about parking a car within a foot of the front of a house.
Right.
That
I mean,
bothers
they
me.
didn't originally propose that, but that was an addition that they added because they saw our concerns about the driveway not being wide enough.
But we have regulations for parking.
Yeah, and on that note, I guess it's worth mentioning too. Yes, we do have requirements that require two spaces per unit. On that note, by the past November, the state passed Public Act 25-1 special session, which, for what it's worth, it does not. These new regulations don't apply till July 1st. But at that point, we cannot legally deny an application for not having a residential application for not having enough parking spaces under 17 units, under 16 units, I believe.
17.
17. Yeah. So listen, like, that's a technicality. You absolutely can legally deny this application today. Come 2 months, you can't use that same reason. I mean, the applicant can.
But I can't predict 2 months from now. I can only predict today.
Well, it's not a prediction. It's the
again.
law. It's the law.
The whole thing is still, nobody knows exactly what
No,
it's
we
supposed
know
to be.
it's the law. It passed in November.
Yeah, and it was supposed to, a lot of things were supposed to already have come to fruition, and they haven't.
No, that part of the law applies starting July 1st.
So, but
already on the
this
books,
is
I think.
today.
Yeah, so again, technically, yes, we have a right to deny the application today. What I'm saying is that the applicant can come back tomorrow, resubmit the same application with the same exact application, and we cannot deny it for that reason. So just be aware of
I'm
that.
aware of the laws, but again, I'm going on today,
Mm-hmm.
and I my concerns on this property. That's all I'm going on.
Yeah, I think it's a reasonable concern, and I think as far as the law goes, I think we should be paying attention to the fact that if this were to get denied solely for the reason of insufficient parking, the applicant, we will effectively just be mandating the applicant spend however much money in permitting fees or in application fees to resubmit the same application and waste all our time. Waste his own time and waste our time. We're gonna have to hear the same application again after July 1st. So if that, I'm saying that's if parking requirements is your only concern. If there's other concerns, by all means, bring it up. But from what I'm hearing, insufficient parking is the only concern I'm hearing.
No, that's not. The fact that that car is a foot from that front of that living space is a concern to me. Because we're not just here to approve everything. Health, safety, and welfare are our concerns. Safety, that's a huge safety issue to me.
But we could consider that not a parking space, and then come July,
Again,
it would still be sufficient.
That's my concern, is a safety issue. Parking in front of a house that close is a safety issue.
So would you rather the applicant remove that paved area in front of the house and just have a single driveway?
I'm not telling the applicant how to configure this. I mean, he could also take down his garage and park everybody in the back. I don't care where he parks those people, where he parks the 4 cars. I have a concern about a car parked a foot from a living space. I mean,
No,
things
it's-
happen.
Yeah, that's a
So
reasonable
that's a real concern to
Yeah,
me.
it is a reasonable concern. Agree. But I'll pass on.
Okay, Laura Ray, you had a comment?
Yes. So I think I have some conflicts. I hear the concerns about parking and safety, which I appreciate. I mean, I think you all know I think about that every day at work. I do want to thank the applicant for, hearing us and making adjustments based on our concerns about space for parking. That's heartening to me. I think that no matter how you configure things, it's just a small space. If I were voting tonight, I would say I would be inclined to approve it. I do think, yes, if I were a neighbor, I might find having a lot of cars there generally annoying. I might find that I would be concerned about playing Tetris with cars, yes. But also, I find that most people are good neighbors, and that if I wanted to decide that the upstairs people were parking here and the downstairs people were parking here, and I could figure out how to align my keys, I could probably do it. I just would probably like to err on the side of thinking that decent people can work things out and that most people are decent. I don't know. I know that is not always the case these days, but that's where I'd like to start. I just figure that if we start doing that, that maybe it will be the case. So anyway, that's just maybe me being optimistic, but unless we're that way, I don't know who will be. So anyway, that's my just note of positivity for the day. So there you be. Happy Thursday.
Anyone else? Joe?
So there's two families in my neighborhood across the street from me. They have 5 cars in a 1-car wide driveway. They park on the street. When it snows, they line up the driveway. So this is and it's pretty regular all around Thompsonville, especially around Thompsonville in this area. He's provided what we asked him to do. He created 4 parking spaces. It may not be ideal, but they're there. And I understand the safety issue about parking in front of the house. Again, it's just a concern. It's not in our regulation. It's not allowed. I'd be concerned too, but I think we're stepping out of bounds a little bit. Safety concerns are good, but it's a concern. It's not, I don't think we have anything to say about it at that point. We can make suggestions, but to deny this application, like Christian said, it'll be back in front of us and we won't have any option but to approve
But
it.
safety is our concern. It's in our purview.
You could
It's
build a
in-
wall there and somebody come down the street drunk and go right through it into the house. I
Again.
mean, you're talking about something that's probably never gonna happen, but I disagree and I'll leave it at that.
I think we know where everyone's coming from. Yeah, let me just, I haven't said my word yet. Let me just do that. Frankly, I agree with Commissioner Millet. I think it's something for the neighbors and the residents to work out amongst themselves. Mr. Cabrera has spent a lot of time on this and effort in revising and answering our questions and implementing our requests from prior meetings. And I think that we're getting out of our concerns by worrying too much about the parking in the driveway. So I'm in favor of the motion. Okay, so can we go ahead and call the motion, Mr. Secretary? The roll call.
Okay, Ken Helinski,
Four.
Christy Antonio,
Or
Linda DeGray,
Against because of safety issues with the car parked so close to the house in front of the living area.
Joseph Muley,
4.
Terrence Lynch,
4.
Rob Anderson,
Against for safety concerns and parking issues.
and John Petronella is against for not meeting the parking requirements and safety concerns. So it passes 4-3.
Okay.
cumplir con los requerimientos.
Congratulations, Mr. Cabrera. We have passed your motion.
Felicidades, señor Rivera. Usted pasó el.
Good luck with your
very
project.
Muchas, thank you very much. Mucha suerte.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Confirmar usted fue el periodo.
Este es mío.
Solo para confirmar, usted envió la solicitud a la agencia, ¿correcto?
Sí.
Sí, perdón, es que son los gobiernos, son las ciudades o las compañías que lo hacen. La persona, pero. Perdón.
Public hearing.
Yes, we need to move on to our next item. Thank you. Okay, next item of business is new public hearings, PH 3148. Mr. Secretary?
I'm looking for the,
Okay, yeah, take your time.
Now you're rushing.
No, I'm not.
I'm looking for the public hearing. This is Harris Street. I got it. Okay. The Enfield Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing at the regular meeting on Thursday, May 14th, 2026 at 7 p.m. in the Town Hall Council Chambers, 820 Enfield Street, Enfield, Connecticut, concerning the following application. Public hearing number 3148, 2 Dale Road, application for special use permit to expand the existing non-conforming structure and construct a plus or minus 856 square foot addition to the home. Nicole Campisi and Axel Collin, owner, applicant, map 66, lot 376, R33 zone.
Okay, are the applicants here? Yes. Okay, can you come up, please, and introduce yourselves, name and address at the microphones?
I'm Nicole Campisi. I live at 2 Dale Road. Oh, sorry. My name is Nicole Campisi. I live at 2 Dale Road.
Okay,
And I'm Axel Cologne, 2 Dale Road.
okay, thank you. Okay, so why don't you give us your description of what you're trying to do?
Perfect. Really, we just want to build a garage. Our house currently does not have one, and we just want it to be in line with the existing home, which impedes the 30-yard, 30-foot rule
Okay,
from the street, because our house currently sits at 25 feet from the street.
okay, okay. Lori, do you want to go ahead and, or, this is Steve's. Okay, Steve.
Yep, so just really quickly, this is a special permit request to allow an addition within the front yard setback. They'll be flush with the existing non-conforming structure. This type of expansion may be allowed via a special use permit approval. In this property's area,
Just hang on for a second, because we're rattling the papers. We'll let everybody get their.
My apologies.
Let everybody get their diagram.
let me know when everybody's ready.
All right.
Okay,
So,
go ahead.
so this type of expansion may be allowed via a special use permit approval. In this property's area, there are many properties that are built within the front yard setback. In order for an addition to be permitted within the front yard setback, there are 2 sections of the zoning regulations that come into effect. Section 4.10.3, which is special requirements for illegal non-conforming lots under 33,000 square feet, and 3.40.2, non-conforming structures. And just some minor corrections. So the applicant said that their house sits 25 feet within a 30-foot setback. The setback is actually 35 feet, and their house sits at 30 feet from the setback. So just a slight adjustment. In reviewing the application, their house appears to conform with the regulations in terms of lot coverage, as well as the setbacks for the rear and side property lines. in reviewing the application, I had asked them to provide us with the architecturals, which we had received, and you should have been able to see online. In terms of comments from all the other from all the other departments, my apologies, none of the other departments had any concerns. And in my review of the application itself, the only additional comment I had was that the address on the architectural plans currently read 2 Dale Street. Just simple condition of approval to make it 2 Dale Road, which I've already included within the conditions of approval.
Okay. Do any of the commissioners have any questions for our applicants? Linda?
I don't have one for the applicant, but I do have one for Steve. Is this just one of those situations that when the regulations got changed to R33 from R12, and now these people are non-conforming?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Chair.
Yeah, go ahead, John.
I have a question to staff through the chair. I understand the front yard setback and so forth and have no issue with that, but you make no mention of the side yard requirement.
I personally did not think it was as important to mention. But so the side yard setbacks are at 10 feet, and the side yard there's addition sits at 11 feet from the front of the addition and 10.9 feet from the back of the addition. So in terms of the side yard setback, they are still in compliance.
You're saying what? That the...
So the building has to be at least 10 feet from the side yard property line, and the addition, as shown on the survey, it'll be 11 feet from the side yard property line in the front of the addition and 10.9 feet from the rear of the addition. So it is still in compliance with that side yard setback.
In looking at on the scale or the chart, it says the requirement is a 25-foot side yard. The existing is 12, and they're going to 10'9". So I guess that's why I'm confused. And you're saying that the requirement is 10 foot?
I must have overlooked that when I did my initial review. So let me just. There you go.
The table at the bottom of...
Yes. So the required setbacks, I'm going to read this directly from section 4.10.3, which this is the requirements for legal non-conforming lots under 33,000 square feet. The minimum yard setbacks, the front and rear yards are 35 feet, as I had explained earlier, and the side yard is 10 feet. So it appears that the yard requirements that they provided here were under the regular R33 zone as opposed to the R33 legal non-conforming lots. So we can, as a condition of approval, ask them to correct the zoning table.
So is 10 foot acceptable?
10 feet is what's required for legal non-conforming lots under 33,000 square feet.
Under R33?
Correct.
Okay.
The other setbacks that you're seeing there are for R33 lots that are at least 33,000 square feet.
Okay, understood. I was confused there, and I figured it had to be something like that.
Oh, that's okay. Thank you.
Yep. No, thank you.
Okay. Walter?
So I got a fence issue question. So that fence is the neighbor's fence?
It's our fence.
Okay, so you have enough room to go around the back with that existing fence?
We're gonna move the fence.
You're gonna move the fence too?
Yep.
Okay. But you already discussed it with the neighbor because it's attached to their fence too, or?
It's not attached to their fence.
Oh, because it says a butter's chain link fence, and it looks like it's,
It doesn't connect, it's next to.
got you, okay. There's a split there. All right.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, since this is a public hearing, I'd like to ask if anyone in the audience would like to come up and speak for or against this particular proposal. Anybody? Doesn't look like it. Okay. Can we have the motion, please?
Make a motion to close public hearing 3148.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. John, can you go ahead and propose the
So,
motion?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve public hearing number 3148, 2 Dale Road, application for a special use permit to expand the existing non-conforming structure to construct a plus or minus 856 square foot addition to the home Nicole Campisi plus Axel Collin, owner, applicant, map 66, lot 376, R33 zone.
Second?
You have to read B? Do you have to read number B?
Yes.
Hang on just a second. There's a second part to it.
This is consistent with the plan of conservation and development, that it helps provide diversity of housing types, tenor, and affordable to all incomes. This includes a mix of single-family, missing, middle, and multi-family housing.
Second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. Any discussion on the motion?
I just want to
Yes.
make a comment that I hope that this is something that we address. I know Lori's been hard at work at it to avoid these nonconformities as we're cleaning up our zoning regulations. So find folks like this doing basic additions to their 1950s homes don't have to submit special permit applications. And for what it's worth, I had to do a double take because the addition they're doing to their house and the architectural's dead ringer for my house.
It looks like your house.
Same thing, like color and everything. I had to do a double take.
Nice.
So, but yeah.
I
So
thought it
we
was your
appreciate your
house.
patience submitting the special permit.
Thank you.
We're working on it.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, can we have roll call, please?
Yeah, Ken Helinski,
4.
Christy Antonio,
For
Linda DeGray,
4.
Joseph Muley,
4.
Terrence Lynch,
4.
Rob Anderson,
4.
and John Petronella is 4. 7-0 approved.
Okay, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next item, old business. There is no old business. New business, Part A, 8-24, referral, sale of Lot 29 Main Street to dock for parking lot associated with new train station. Lori?
Yes. So, this is exactly that. The DOT is going to purchase about, I forget the number, about 17,449 square feet along Main Street, kind of kitty corner across from where the train station's going to be. But on one side, on the east side of the tracks versus the west side of the tracks where the railroad station will be. They are only acquiring up to, I think, the top of the slope down to the freshwater brook. So the town can still actually access the brook and still own the brook. And so that's a good thing. I had to clarify that with the town manager today, just because the map is very small and I had a hard time reading it. But it is very distinctly showing freshwater brook outside of their taking. It's not really a taking, they're purchasing it, so. So, yeah, that's about it. Purpose is to create additional parking spaces for the new train station.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the commission? No. Hearing none, could we?
Oh, can I just make a comment?
go ahead.
So, look, I am, and hearing that nobody else has concerns, that's good to hear. It's a tough decision when we're talking about transit-oriented development, because the whole point of transit-oriented development is to put people around train stations. So this is not the most productive of lots. It's possible. It would definitely take ingenuity to build on it. Definitely possible though, with small units. But I just want to say, like, this is something I thought a lot about, and like it's not as easy as it seems, on the surface. It's like, oh yeah, the train station needs parking, but it's also important for us as we're developing transit-oriented development that basically the second most important part of TOD, aside from the transit, is decreased parking. That's basically value number one, aside from the transit itself. So I just want to put that out there, something for us to kind of keep in the back of our minds. Who knows if things change in the future? Parking lots can be redeveloped fairly easily. This is our main street, right? Old Main Street. It would be, I personally don't love the idea of having a big parking lot, right on the frontage of Main Street. I get our Main Street's kind of shifted over time, and North Main Street is more functionally our Main Street. But I mean, if the consensus, I think there'll be a consensus to support this. I don't think it necessarily has to be permanent. And really, I want to see the train station succeed. So that's most important. But again, just keep in mind transit-oriented development. The whole point of it is to decrease parking, and we want to put people around the train station. So parking's big everywhere, but especially important here. So thanks.
Okay. Anyone else? Yes, Linda.
I just want to follow up with Commissioner D'Antonio. If you had seen some of the drawings that have been done, this is supposed to be all green space, from the pond all the way down, park-like. And so I agree, not happy about having a parking lot, but where are these people going to park if they're going to take the train? So you can't have them parking in Bigelow, you can't have them parking in North River Street and South River Street and everywhere. But yeah, the original plan was this beautiful park-like setting all the way from the pond down to the river with, all sorts of wonderful things. But times change.
Park
so.
is in parking lot?
No, no, benches.
Yeah, no, I know.
And walking paths. It was really beautiful, but, times change, we have to go with it, so I gotta live with this and what's happening.
Yeah.
So.
You could still make sure there's some green space in there.
Oh, yeah, but this was like a beautiful walkway.
It can still be beautiful, I think.
There will be some plantings.
I'm sure there will be. Anyone else? Okay, can we have the motion, please, John?
Move to refer the,
Okay, well, I guess I asked John, but you can
Okay.
do, I don't think that's, it has to be, doesn't have to be John.
I guess I move that we make a motion to send a positive referral to the town council for the sale of Lot 29 Main Street to the Department of Transportation, as this will advance the success of the train station.
We have a second?
second,
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Can we have roll call on this, please?
Ken Helinski,
4.
Chris D'Antonio,
4.
Linda DeGray,
Or,
Joseph Muley,
4.
Terrence Lynch,
4.
Rob Anderson,
4.
and John Petronella is 4, passes 7-0.
Okay, next item.
What's going on with North Main Street? Or North River Street?
That's 33 North River Street. That's the apartments that are going in. So they
But
cleared,
were
they,
working, and now all of a sudden there's nothing going on over there?
I can add to
Go
that.
ahead.
So they did start some clearing, but when they submitted for the building permit, they hadn't quite finished their post-approval process with our department yet. So I reached out to them and I asked them to finish the post-approval process prior to moving forward with construction.
and part of that is that they still have to do the remediation of the, I think it's wood ash.
Yeah, it just seemed odd, they were working like that.
Yeah,
over
they
there,
did,
and
and-
all of a sudden,
Yeah.
took all the
There's,
trucks over.
there's always a glitch.
Okay, next item of business is B, discussion on possible text amendments. Do we want to change the order a bit and have the gentleman come up first, since they've been waiting.
I make a motion that we move 12C to the next agenda item.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, Carl Landolina, Landolina Law LLC, Windsor Locks, Connecticut. In front of you is a known face, I guess, Tim Kuhn from J.R. Russo and Associates. And I guess Cliff doesn't want to, he doesn't want to get closer. It's not you, it's me, I'm sure. It's Cliff Chapman. One of his LLCs is the owner of a piece of property in the industrial park zone. What you have in front of you right now is a map of the properties in the industrial park zone. They're all in that deep purple color. Mr. Chapman's LLC owns 176 South Road. There is an existing building there, and he would like to construct another building on his site. There's plenty of room to do that. Your regulations now provide that, as you know, there are a number, I think 4 different types of industrial zones, the I-1, the IM or 1M, the I-2, and the IP, the industrial park zone. 3 of those zones have similar coverage and building coverage, impervious coverages and building coverage. The IP zone, the building coverage is substantially less than the building coverage in the other industrial zones. The other industrial zones are at 50%. And in the IP zone, the building coverage starts at 20% and goes up gradually depending on the size of your lot. If it's less than, I think, 4 acres, you're allowed 20%. If you're between 4 and another number, it goes up to 25. And for larger lots, you're allowed 33 1/3% of building coverage. The impervious coverage for all the I zones is the same, 66%. So, I'm not sure about, I think the IP zone is probably like 50 years old now, somewhere like that, or?
It was from around the 70s, yeah.
Yeah.
Once wetlands statutes came into effect,
Yeah.
it became kind of void.
So wetlands came into effect in 1974, and you probably adopted a wetlands regulation in 1974 or 75. And so this is pure speculation. I haven't done any research to understand why this was at 20% building coverage when everyone else in the industrial zones are at 50, but the impervious coverage itself is the same. So I'll leave that to others to kind of to square away. But again, speculating that this is a very environmentally sensitive area, as you all know, and that's one of the reasons that some of the larger lots have not been developed in the park zone. But now that you have wetlands, they are concerned with those things, and that's generally speaking a matter for them to regulate, and they do regulate it very stringently, as you probably know. So right now, our building coverage is about 19 and change %. So there's no room to build an addition or another building. He wants to build a fairly modest building on the property. Given, wetlands and all the rest of the stuff, he can probably fit another 3,000 or 4,000 square feet or something in that nature. But we would be over the 20% building coverage. We'd still be underneath the impervious coverage. So we're just going to take up some of the parking spaces, which is way too much parking in, there with some additional building. So we thought about a variance, but it affects the entirety of the IP zone. It's not a one-off up to our property. So it's not a unique situation. So we didn't think we'd have much success in that area. So we thought we'd come to you and see what your appetite is. for a text amendment to allow an increase from the present 20% up to 33 1/3% to something closer to what's allowed in the other industrial zones, which is 50%. So that's really it in a nutshell. There is a table on the plan that Tim provided to you, which kind of gives you a layout of all the properties in there, and so it's tough to read. I had to blow it up myself to read it, but it's there. I don't know if Tim wants to comment on what he found during this process of looking at the lots. Obviously, you can see that the lots in that sort of rectangle created by Phoenix Avenue, Niblick, Freshwater, and South, those 10 lots in there, they're obviously the smaller lots in the IP zone, and that happens to be where Cliff's property is. And then as you work backwards in the zone, the lots get much larger. Some of the buildings don't get much larger, but the lots do. So that's where we're at. So I guess we're here for input as to whether you'd have an appetite for us to come in with a text amendment to increase the building coverage to something closer to 50% to match what is the requirement is in the other industrial zones. Now, I will say, my experience has been in some towns, and that doesn't mean you have to treat your regulations this way, that impervious is impervious, whether it's building or parking, it still has the same impact on the land. It's impervious surface you're creating, as long as you can meet the parking requirements for whatever size building you're building and stay below the total impervious coverage. They don't distinguish between buildings and other impervious areas. Now, I'm not suggesting that you have to do that, but that's just been my experience.
Okay.
Do you have anything you want to add about the table, or?
No, Tim Kuhn with J.R. Russo, and really the only thing I would just reiterate is that really if the coverage, if the point of the coverage was, say, to protect for environmental protection or something like that, or the wetlands, if that was the reason why they put the coverage out there, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to have the 66% impervious coverage. That's the coverage that's more protective of wetlands and environmental factors as opposed to the building coverage. So really, by increasing the building coverage, I don't really see a large impact to environmentally sensitive receptors or anything of that nature. So,
right, as long as we can satisfy the Wetlands Commission as to that. But yeah.
Okay. Lori or staff, do you have any comments?
I haven't had a whole lot of time to really, put a great effort into looking into the background of this. The impervious coverage to me can be, does include building coverage. So, but this is the reason this hasn't been built on is because it's all wetlands. So that concerns me. So, I would need more time and staff time to kind of look at the ramifications of this, if there are any.
Okay. And we're talking for the whole IP zone, right?
Yeah, we wouldn't
This
do
regulation would change for all the purple.
effectively, yes. We wouldn't come in and just say, change it for us. You'd have to do it
Right.
for the entire zone.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So we did discuss the possibility of variance, but there's really no hardship. I mean, they think there's a hardship, but I'm not sure if the ZBA would. So, I mean, I'm always open to consideration of any change, but I can't really speak to anything, in great detail on this item.
Okay.
At this time.
Okay. Laura.
So I do appreciate the discussion of a blanket change, right? I appreciate consistency. It's just generally nicer. So thank you. I would be interested in what Wetlands thinks, just because they know more about this than I do, not just because that would help me at home. I hope you're watching, Agent Reno. Anyway, also, I would be interested in what they think, just because I know it, as much as coverage is coverage, I mean, a building, depending upon what you're talking about, kind of have a different effect on the environment than a parking lot, depending upon, structures are different than flatland, right? So I would be interested in that discussion, just saying that. So, if there is environmental input that we can get, I would appreciate that. That's all.
Okay, sounds good.
But yeah, would appreciate the consistency. So thank you, guys.
John?
Yeah, question, I guess to staff through the chair, but if we were to make this change, and it would be in line with I-1 and I-2, what would differentiate the industrial park zone from those zones? What other things are in there that right now you don't know, Lori?
So I think, this is really a history discussion. This was all designated to be the industrial park. And then when they were all ready to develop it and start selling parcels off and actually have true development out there, the statutes changed and created wetlands regulations. And this, just about every site out there is probably 70% plus wetlands. So it's, the reason this isn't an industrial park is because you can't build in wetlands. So, which is why it's not developed. So, my concern is that we're trying to change a large area where that may not be a great idea. And, maybe the idea is that maybe we create a different industrial zone along the roads and at the southern part or something like that. So in other words, I don't think this is a quick answer type of thing. I think we need to do a little study of it and have some other considerations. I don't know, Stephen, if you had anything from like the wetlands end or any thoughts.
Yeah, so I mean, to just kind of answer your questions, like if we were to just theoretically move forward and say we do have the text amendment, at that point, the only real differences I see with the industrial park is two uses, and I highlighted them here. Conference centers and offices accessory to principal use are the only two uses that are allowed within the industrial park that are not allowed anywhere else in the town.
Yeah.
And that kind of goes back to what Lori was saying with there being a history lesson. And then to kind of also bounce off of what Laura was saying earlier, I do think that it would be a good idea to maybe get the opinion of the Wetlands Commission, as they often do like to look at soil science reports. They like to look at what are the environmental impacts going to be both short and long term. I think the applicant, or not the applicants, those who are before us, I think they bring up a good point that the wetlands regulations are in effect, that we do have a commission that will review environmental needs, and that potentially if a development can be done without impacting the environment, I think that may be a good idea. But I think I ultimately agree with Laura that it would be a good idea to get the wetlands point of view on this.
Okay.
So, and I think I wrote in the letter to Tim was, staff has actually considered bringing the combination of I-1 and I-2 to the commission because there's almost essentially no difference. And there's hardly any I-2. So, unfortunately, I know that Mr. Chapman would probably like a quick answer here, only I think that this is a bigger issue than just a quick answer.
Okay.
To follow up on Commissioner Petronella's comment as well. So in the inverse, there are a couple of uses, as Mr. Heine said, that are allowed in this zone only. And there are a number of uses that are allowed in the other industrial zones that aren't allowed here. So the only other impact is to uses, really, that I can see. Yeah.
I was curious if there was something else in there with respect to wetlands issues, if there's, back then, again, it's I guess it's a history lesson.
Right.
What was the thought process back then to come up with that?
I don't know. I can tell you that, assuming that is exactly what the thought process was, that it was an environmental concern because of the environmental nature of the property. And I'm, if you want to hear from the Wetlands Commission, that's certainly within your purview. They will certainly, to the extent that whatever, if this was adopted and any of the users in the industrial zone were to take advantage of it in some fashion, and they were impacted by wetlands, they'd have to go there. The one major change that has occurred to wetlands since it became a thing in 1974 is that now, back then, they could only regulate watercourses in actual wetlands. The question of whether they could regulate what we call now upland review areas, which are areas outside of wetlands, was totally off the table until a bunch of towns started doing it in the early 2000s without quote-unquote statutory authority, Summers being one of them. And then rather than the law telling towns like Summers they couldn't do it, they changed the law to allow it to happen because it's a good idea. Because there are things, as you know, that happen outside the wetlands that can impact the wetlands. So now we have the regulated areas have enlarged from actual wetlands and watercourses to, upland review areas, which are outside. So there's even more protection than there was back in the early 70s. And then, of course, we don't want to talk about vernal pools, but, but yeah. So.
Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, I know in the correspondence you had, that was in our packet via email, it was discussed about the potential of perhaps while bringing building coverage up, maybe perhaps with environmental sensitivity in mind, to lower impervious coverage. So just to clarify, so our regulations are 66% in the IP zone. I know you're showing allowed here 50%. So was that a typo, or is that you showing, for example, if we were to lower it to 50%?
that is a typo.
That's a typo. Okay. Well, I mean, it still has value in terms of, let's say that was the number. It would result in 2 properties being non-conforming at that point. Yeah, not great. Far from the majority of properties. Most aren't even close, but that's something just for us to keep in mind. I mean, from your engineering take on that, it's kind of, if you don't mind, maybe sharing your thoughts. I mean, obviously, there's something we're going to take back either way, but what are your thoughts in terms of using that balance of impervious coverage, low, perhaps if that was something we were to consider?
Just so I can understand the question, are you suggesting that anybody who wanted to do something like this might consider decreasing the overall impervious down to something below 66 and raising the building coverage up to something closer to the 50% is? Is that what you're?
That's what I'm getting at. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what seemed to be discussed
Right.
very briefly in the correspondence.
Yes, and I would say if environmental sensitivity is indeed the issue and the concern, then that's a good solution, because really the building coverage, in my mind, doesn't really have much of an impact on the environmental sensitivity as opposed to the impervious coverage. And even when you look at just stormwater, for example, the stormwater that comes off a paved parking lot is required to be treated. The stormwater that comes off a roof, in most cases, is considered clean and doesn't require treatment. Therefore, that, the impervious parking lot is more of a detriment to the environment than a building. So if you wanted to reduce any impacts on the environment, reducing the impervious coverage would be the way to go. And if you wanted to do a swap to get more building coverage, I don't think that would really have any impact on the environment.
Okay, appreciate your input. Yeah, I mean, from what I had seen as far as like industrial, yeah, I don't know anything about the history of this, but I mean, it definitely seems like industrial parks are kind of more open space is kind of the general trend for them, or at least historically. But obviously, we are looking at a place that is functionally forced to have open space no matter what. So it's an interesting position for us to be in. But yeah, I mean, it seems like something that feels like it would be worth us considering. Maybe we could bump up the environmental sensitivity with impervious coverage decreasing. Yeah, I mean, I would be curious too to know a little more history, but yeah, some of it just seems like kind of a timing issue with the IP zone being created before wetlands.
Yeah. Anyone else? Oh. I'm looking here.
Since nobody was raising their
Yeah,
hand.
okay,
I just-
great.
So I do know that in past administrations, especially with Joe Bosco, he was really very intent on trying to figure out how we can develop this area. And you know, maybe this might, you know, maybe we could come up with something. Quite honestly, I would want to maybe speak with the town manager about this, just because it's a big thing in the town. So I think that I could do that, and I do think that the Wetlands Commission definitely should be, you know, you should maybe have a informal with them as well. So, and I could find out a little bit more history, but, you know, we have some history on this, and that the short of it is wetlands regulations came into effect, and that's how they created the Mass Mutual building up north of here, because they couldn't build here. So.
Interesting.
Or not Mass Mutual. I'm sorry, I misspoke. Hallmark. So that's how we ended up with, I believe, an industrial section that goes through a residential development to get there with the trucks back and forth. So I mean, like I said, this kind of is a history lesson that we kind of need to decipher. But you know, if the Wetlands Commission would be in favor of some sort of a swap with the building and impervious coverage, I mean, it's certainly worth looking at. And maybe we don't, you know, yeah, I don't know. I keep thinking, you know, maybe we have kind of a new industrial zone, but again, that's a little bit more complicated. And a lot of it would, if we could possibly get like a wetlands agent out there, or not a wetlands surveyor out there, and actually identify where the wetlands actually are, it would be an expensive task, but it might be worth it. But the other thing is the town doesn't own these properties anymore, so. So it's not just asking the town about any rezone or changes. So.
Okay, well, it
Just a
sounds
couple
like,
other things.
it sounds like we're not totally against this, that it's something that we would consider, but we need to have some more research and hear from wetlands and kind of develop a strategy, I think, on what we want to do. So it's probably, it's not something that's going to happen tomorrow, I don't think, but it sounds like we're not against it. Yeah.
Okay.
That it's something we could consider and make the trade-off with the impervious coverage and so on.
All right, we appreciate your time.
Sure.
Thanks for moving us up.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I'm supposed to be in bed every night at 9 o'clock.
You got 10 minutes.
Yeah, you got 10 minutes. You get
Speed halts. Doesn't take long to get the window off.
Yeah.
20 years.
You're welcome.
This is the weirdest table.
I know, yeah, it's weird.
33%, 20%.
But it's something that we did, I think.
Back in the 70s. I guess, I don't know.
Okay, so going back to,
Yeah, the numbering got a little
yeah. Well, we're
wonky
going
in
back
here.
to the one I see on page 2, section 330, accessory buildings, and
Yeah,
Those three items, A, B, and C.
this is what happens when Donna goes on vacation.
Okay. I think we know where we're at.
Full disclosure. It's on tight. So the first one was accessory buildings. So, and you all have that? Do you all have the copies? You got them? Okay. Okay, so we were talking about, in the past, accessory buildings and how the building coverage includes decks, landings, porches, which are adjacent and access to the structure. And you all decided that you would like to remove that and say, well, not necessarily remove that, but you know what? Did you get the one dated today, May 14th?
That was a handout, I think, right?
Was it a handout? No, I just updated it today. I wasn't sure if Donna had given it.
No, I don't think we got that one.
Sorry about that. So I'm going to give these two out. Here, sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I read the packet on Tuesday, so I didn't see this today.
So I just modified these this morning. So, Stephen and I were looking at this, and he suggested that we just add swimming pools, pervious decks, landings, porches, etc., shall not be counted as building coverage. Now, subsequently today, I had a further conversation with Rick, and he would like us to just kind of table this for now because he has some concerns about what the effect might be with, should we remove cellars if we did that, and then we take this out, then people are going there's going to be an issue with building coverage.
Okay.
And with adding on accessory structures.
Okay.
So, so I think we're kind of on the right path at this point with this, but if you don't mind, I'd like to table the discussion because we're going to talk about it tomorrow in the staff meeting.
Okay.
So we don't want to miss things.
Excuse me, one quick comment. Just having, where it says porches, et cetera, is that?
That's
are-
what it
are
says
you
right now.
opening
So
up a can of
that's
worms with
that's
that?
one thing I'd like to change too.
Yeah.
So, but that's exactly what it says in there. as-
Yeah, I think you might
yeah.
want to consider striking that out.
Yeah.
But-
What is et cetera? Can we define that?
Exactly.
Okay, so
It's exempt, of
we're kind of getting there, but we want to have a conversation and try to figure out, do some sort of analysis as to whether or not there might be some negative ramifications to doing this.
Okay.
So we'll try
So
to,
we want to table accessory buildings, one?
yeah, please.
Okay.
And then, did you get the Lake Overlay District? You didn't get that either. 'Cause that's why I've got them all.
Yeah, we got that.
Did you have a new one today?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, then
No,
we
we didn't
don't
get the
have
new
that.
one.
It's just, I just made it clearer, hopefully.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Should have handed these out before, sorry.
Okay.
You're getting your steps, everything's great.
No. It's always good to get as many steps as possible.
Right.
Not too bad. It's been a long day.
So I put a key in, which I apparently did not do it the last time. So the red capital letters are the proposed additional language. The strikeout, with the yellow highlight, is language to be eliminated, and the blue highlight is language to be discussed. So if you remember, this is the Lakefront Lake Overlay District, and the front is the back, and the back is the front.
Yep.
Okay, and we realized that it was very difficult to discern exactly how to interpret that. So, let's see, so under A, purpose, the purpose of this section is to provide 4 standards. I just took that word out, it's irrelevant, I think. And then in B, I just added an S to district, so that it's Crescent Lake and Shaker Lake districts, plural, pose unique zoning issues for the property owners, and that the lots are mostly, if not all, I took that out, non-conforming, and many of the structures are also non-conforming. In order to accommodate for accessory uses, the front yard of the properties is defined as the lakeside. So that was actually in a different sentence, and I just moved that up. And then I took out, in addition, the mean high water mark of the lakes varies, the front, and then we moved the front yard of the properties up. So I took that out because it really has no purpose in the zoning regulations. We have inland wetlands and flood regulations, and it's not discussed anywhere else in the entire section, or zoning regs. C stays the same, except for the second sentence. Property owners within the 2 lake districts may apply for a special permit to improve the main structure or add an accessory structure. So what the blue is we should probably discuss this. Do you think that they should be required to get a special permit to put in an accessory structure or an addition?
Isn't this something that we were trying to move away from, this special permits? Everything that we do is a special permit. I mean,
absolutely.
If we ever get the regulations done.
We have been working on them. I mean,
know. I'm just saying.
I know,
if we
but
ever get
trust
them
me.
done, I think this was one of the things we were going to change to
Try
a site
to-
plan.
Yeah.
And so that we were moving away from special permits.
Yeah, I guess I'd have no problem if we were gonna go with a site plan. I mean,
Yeah.
you're still gonna review it. I mean, you get a review so that it's not something crazy being done.
If I may also just kind of add, so a lot of the properties that are in the lakefront district, they also do fall under wetlands regulations because of the upland review area of the lakes that they sit on.
Right. Okay.
So I just want to also throw out there that maybe a site plan isn't necessary for these because, as for example,
thank you.
We had the applicant here earlier who you all looked at and you said, this is just a simple, make the addition, keep everything in line. Doesn't necessarily need to come before you guys.
Right.
In my professional opinion, this seems like a similar scenario where if it does have some sort of environmental impact, it will go before the Wetlands Commission. And if this was an addition on the house or an accessory structure to the house that was outside of the lakefront district, it wouldn't normally go before you. It would just normally be a building permit.
Okay.
So I just kind of want to throw that out there that a site plan review may not be necessary.
But I don't want to disagree with you, but I'm going to disagree to a point because these are all non-conforming lots. I think that's the issue, the non-conformity. That unfortunate that most of these houses were built around the lake as cottages that have been converted to year-round homes. The people that were just before us, they were conforming until the people prior to us, this commission, said, no, we don't want any R12s anymore. We just want R33s because that was the time in the 80s when the McMansions were being built and they wanted bigger lots and more room. And now we're reverting back to the smaller lots. So I think the nonconformity in that issue was that's a subdivision that was built very specifically as an R12. These had no controls. So I think a site plan for these houses is at one time, all those houses, sewage dumped into those lakes. Yes, I swam in those lakes. Okay? So when I think about it, it's gross. But I'm just saying is, so I think you got to look at the differences in this. That's why I'm just saying a site plan.
I understand that, and I think you do make a good point. Yes, a lot of those houses were built prior to the zoning regulations. They were previously cottages. And I'm just going to also just throw in another nugget, not to necessarily disagree or argue or whatever. From what I've seen in the Lakefront District is that a lot of the houses are on non-conforming lots. It's not that the houses themselves are necessarily non-conforming. We could still do something similar where if the house is within a setback, that could still require a site plan review. But if the house sits normally within the setbacks that are set up by the district, and there would be no environmental impacts and there'd be no other impacts, I'm personally just trying to
I could compromise with that.
you see where I'm trying to come with?
Yeah, I could compromise with that one, because like, as long as they're within their setbacks, it's fine, but some of them aren't, and that's,
Of course.
so that's where I'm thinking site plan. That's all.
So you're talking about the site plan for non-conforming structures?
I guess, yes. Yes, because
Okay.
they're not.
So
with-
if it's, so at that point, that's our section, whatever.
It's
something.
340D, I think.
So, anyway, we have that regulation in
Okay, all right.
there already.
Good.
So, but
All right.
we just, I think, we were discussing a special permit for this is pretty major for some tiny little, I don't know, shed.
I agree.
So we're trying, like you said, we're trying to get away from using special permits, especially for small things that usually would just get a zoning permit. So, and that's kind of what they get normally, and any other house would just have a for the most part, a zoning permit for a shed or something like that. So you would like to see, or so far, we're considering just non-conforming structures
Right.
equals site plan approval.
I think that could be a fair compromise.
Yep.
Chris?
And then, and the commission shall use the criteria required for the review of a special permit to consider such application. But, and I like this, the commission may reduce the front, rear, or side yard by no more than what is consistent with the average front, rear, or side yards existing for the block face in which the property is located as of July 1st, 2017. So that also gives you some leeway for review. So we're gonna take this out, the special permit part.
Comment first, Chris?
Not specific about that, about another
No, I'm
section.
sorry, actually, I'm not, you're right, we haven't finished our conversation, so please go on.
Oh, no, yeah, I concur about everything we just talked about. I just want to add a minor thing. I really don't like the LFOD acronym. I think we talked about that informally, Lori, the other day.
Yeah.
But, so ideally, I would like to get rid of that acronym, or at least define it, define the F. You implied that it's front, lakefront.
Yeah.
I don't know if we could just wrap that into here as a
Well, with
minor
the new
thing.
regulations, and of course, we're gonna reach out to the Lake Commission.
And,
Just do the
and just a,
overlay district.
Something
right, yeah.
LOD.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, and then in
So
F
the
in this
Lake Overlay
section,
District, but we keep
it does say LFOD zone. That's the only place it refers to it as a zone. It's not a zone.
Yeah.
So again, that's kind of a minor wording thing. While we're in this section, just change it to district. D is district. Yeah, it's redundant. You could just take out the word zone.
D is offensive to me. I'm not really sure that's acceptable.
The lakefront overlay district.
Yeah, he's being funny.
So just to clarify, we, instead
I
of
don't like the L, all
LFOD,
right?
I don't get it.
to clarify, we just want to use LOD for the acronym,
Ideally.
Lake Overlay District.
Here, Lake Overlay.
I know, but it's, there's
That's what it
there's
said.
LFOD's other.
Yeah,
There's two
Like
other.
Yeah,
in the
Walter, the
regulation
regu-
itself, it says LFOD.
Yeah.
So,
It just goes back and forth a lot in the regulations, so just got to pick one of the two.
yeah. And so then, site plan. So under D, we could just, and C, the special permits can just be site plan if needed, or we'll work on a good wording for that.
Yep,
Okay?
sounds good.
Wordsmith.
Any other comments on this item?
And then F, just clarifies what it is.
Yep,
The front is the rear and the rear is the front. So we'll make these changes and clarifications, and we'll bring it back to you.
okay, did we cover everything here? Looks like it.
Yeah, that was it. I was going to put in the basement, but I actually, I've been doing some posting on the planning listserv and getting some responses back. So I'll bring that to you next time.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so next item of business is other business, 13A, request for permit extension, SPR 1938.
Actually, do we still have, what is his name?
Oh,
Oh, you're,
yep, James is, he's there. He's
oh,
on.
there he is.
Oh, okay.
He
Hello.
appeared. So, I had a conversation with the owner and I'm sorry, I'm forgetting his name here. There's too many names here.
Do we want to move him up because, so he's, he's B.
Am I going in the wrong?
Because A is, is
Oh,
mine.
okay. Okay, you go.
We're going to do my first, we're going to make James wait?
Oh, no, we'll take this one, yeah.
This
Is
was
that
the
okay if we
Pullman
switch 'em?
Realty LLC item, the SPR 1938. The top of
Says
the,
Levesque
says our Levesque
Associates.
Associates, top of the page.
Yes, but,
Plan approval extension is what we're looking at.
yes. Okay.
Shaker Road and North Maple Street.
Okay, well, we'll do this one really quickly. So they reached out to us on April 28th, and I'm just going to read out the letter to you, to the commission. Dear Commissioners, on behalf of the property owner, USA Pullman Realty, LLC, CEO David Goodman, our Levesque Associates, Inc., is writing to respectfully request an extension of the Planning and Zoning Commission's approval for SPR 1938. The applicant, formerly operating under Pullman Realty, LLC, CEO Dave Goodman, received site plan approval from the commission on June 14th, 2024, which that's actually a typo. It's June 13th, 2024. Subsequent minor revisions were reviewed and accepted by the commission as field changes in July of 2025. Pursuant of the general condition number 4 of the site plan review approval decision, a building permit must be obtained within 24 months of the approval date. And additionally, condition number 5 requires that all construction be complete within 5 years of approval. Using a conservative interpretation based on the original approval date of June 14th, which again is June 13th of 2024, rather than the approved field changes in 2025, the approval is set to lapse at the following dates: June 13th of 2026, deadline to obtain a building permit, and June 13th of 2029, deadline to complete construction. Since the time of approval, the project has experienced delays attributable to broader economic and industrial conditions beyond the applicant's control. These include elevated construction costs, ongoing volatility in material pricing, and labor shortages affecting contractor availability and scheduling. Collectively, these factors have impacted project timelines. So in accordance with section 9.10.7 of the zoning regulations, the commission may grant up to 5 years of extensions up to 5 years. The applicant respectfully requests an extension of the applicable timeframes for both obtaining a building permit and completing construction. Granting this extension will allow the project to move forward in a manner consistent with the original approval and without the need to reinitiate the permitting process. They did not state how long they wanted in this letter, so I had emailed them asking for how long of extension they're requesting, and they're simply asking for a year extension from what was currently approved. So instead of having the deadline on June 13th of 2026 for a building permit, it would be June 13th of 2027 to obtain a building permit, and instead of June 13th of 2029 for the completion of construction, it would be June 13th of 2030. Deadline to complete construction.
June 14th, though.
Right, that was a typo on their letter. They were actually approved on June 13th.
Okay.
So the applicant is just simply requesting a 1-year extension for both obtaining a building permit as well as completed construction.
Okay, so they want to go, the building permit to go from June 13, 2026 to 2027, June 13, 2027?
That is correct.
Okay, and the other one is from 2029 to 2030?
That is also correct.
Okay. Okay. All right, any questions or discussion on the matter? Okay. Can I have a motion?
There's
I make a motion that we extend SPR 1938 for 1 year to obtain the building permit to June 13th, 2027, and the completion of construction to June 13th, 2030.
Second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. Do we need a roll call on this? I'm not sure.
No.
I don't think so.
Vote.
Okay,
Show of
all in
hands.
favor?
All right.
Looks unanimous.
Yeah.
Okay. Next item is item 13B, request for permit extension, SPR 1927, 2010 Moody Road.
Jim, are you there? Finally? Up, you're muted.
Uh-oh.
No?
Still muted.
Oh, no. All right. All right, well, while you're trying to figure that out, I guess I'll move on. So they are, I'll read you their letter. Connecticut Self-Storage, Enfield LLC, the current owner of the above referenced property, formally requests an extension of time to apply for the required zoning permit associated with SPR 1927. So they said zoning permit because inadvertently, the general conditions, which usually says that you needed to get a building permit within 24 months, it actually said zoning permit, so that was a mistake on staff's error. And, but they have already exceeded their 2 years. So it should, their approval was March 14th, 2024. 2 years from that would have been March 14th, 2026. So at this point, they actually would like to get a 2-year extension for the building permit, which would put that at March 14th, 2028. They're talking about market volatility, fabrication lead times, site readiness, permit documentation as issues that have arisen to delay their start.
Okay.
And Jim, do you agree? Nod your head. We still can't hear you.
Not hearing you, yeah.
We can't hear you. So, thumbs up?
No, hold on, he's writing something.
No.
Modern technology. We're still writing notes. Oh, now
we
you
lost
disappeared.
We can't see it.
Well, no, we lost it.
No.
The
Because of your background, we can't see
yeah,
it.
the background's covering up
The background's covering.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions?
No.
Any questions?
Do you want to?
Can you try and put something in the chat? Maybe that'll pop up.
I don't even have it up.
Well, it seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
I-
If you are comfortable,
Make a motion to extend SPR 1927 for 2 years to March 14th, was it?
Yep.
2028?
The building
Yes.
permit, right?
The building permit.
Okay, I have a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Unanimous. Okay, we're good.
thank you, Jim, you're done. You got approved.
Can I be heard?
Now you can be heard.
It's important clarification. We want to start site work before obtaining a building permit because the nature of steel is, these are pre-engineered buildings. You have to buy the steel. The foundations are proprietary to the buildings purchased. And there is a quick turnaround because you have to pay for the steel, receive the steel. My site has to be ready for that to happen. So just a clarification that we can start our site work prior to obtaining our building permit, because only when we're ready to purchase the building, get the competitive bids and choose the vendor, do we get the building plans to get our permit. But again, I want the site work to be done, the sidewalks to be in place, and the rough grade ready to go. So those are important things, and is the type of work that is not subject to tariffs, not subject to imports. It's this type of work that we can do now and control our own destiny.
Great, comment. That should be fine as long as we've gotten all of the plans and everything. We could have a pre-construction meeting and you can start site work and then submit your building permits later.
Thank you.
Okay?
Back to Terrence.
Go ahead.
Terrence's question about completion date. So do we have to extend that too?
That's what I was trying to figure out.
Oh.
They wanted to take our completion date at the same time.
I asked the owner that this morning, and he does not believe that they need that. If they find that they do, they'll come in for an extension for there.
Okay.
Okay,
Is that correct, Jim?
Yes, I love it.
okay.
Okay. All right, so we'll be in
All set.
touch.
Bye-bye.
All right, take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, commissioners' correspondence. Any commissioners have, doesn't look like it. Director of Planning report.
We're just plugging along. Jeffrey, our new guy, is that's coming. He's doing quite well and enjoying things. Next week he's going to Casio, which is great timing. So have that come in early in your experience is great training. So nothing earth-shattering really. We're kind of low on applications, which is really weird because it's been an early spring and the snow melted and we didn't get slammed with applications, which is kind of bizarre. So,
Okay. Authorization, no administrative approvals, I don't think, right?
none.
Applications to be received.
We have two. SPR 1966, 809 Enfield Street, application for modification of public hearing 3084 for 2 temporary storage containers, GJWSJ LLC, applicant owner, map 29, lot 72, BG zone. That's Gary Rome,
Okay,
across the street.
Okay, yep.
And the second one is application PH 3149ZA, a text amendment, application for section 6.20, use requirements to allow motor vehicle repair garages and body shops in the I-1 zone under specific conditions. Amazon.com Services LLC owner and applicant. Map 94, lot 65, I-1 zone. And basically what they are saying is, and the sheet with table 6.2, they would like to add motor vehicle repair garages and body shops for, specifically with the condition in the I-1 zone, motor vehicle repair restricted to accessory use for fleet maintenance only. Removal, repair, or storage of EV batteries is prohibited. Body work is prohibited. Outdoor storage is prohibited. So this would just be an accessory use to a business.
Okay.
So if you are okay with that, I could send that to CROG for the 30-day referral.
We okay? Okay. Opportunities, unresolved issues. I don't think there are any. Executive session? No? Did you have any opportunities?
Oh, yeah, sorry. I just wanted to let people know, so I'm not going to be here on June 11th, but I will be for my day job at ITS, which is our Intelligent Transportation Systems National Conference, which I know is a thing that's sort of tangentially related to what we talk about here. But it's a really, really, really cool conference just where we get to talk about a lot of really cool traffic management solutions. So I hope to, well, I don't know, I think it's cool, everybody. And I guess that's why they, thank you for your tax dollars, paying me a little bit to like do my job at work. But really, there are a lot of innovative things happening throughout the country that help keep us safe. So I just saying when I won't be here for our meeting after our next meeting, but you know, usually there are some really, really, really cool ideas that integrate a lot with transit-oriented development, integrate a lot with building and planning. So I think there should be some cool things for us to discuss
good.
after we get back from there. So just
forward
wanted
to
to say that's where I'll be. So looking forward to it.
Okay, great. Okay, no executive session.
Mr. Chairman, motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Yeah,